Monday Hughes. It's so hard to know where to begin. I am a cheating wife. I have been married 11 years to a man I fell head over heels for when I was 19 years old. I am now 36 and we have a 2-year-old son. With H, I had an absolute fated sense that this was the man I was meant to marry approximately 20 minutes into our first real conversation together. I'd seen him around but hadn't really interacted with him on a personal level for a few months, and then when we first talked, it was instant. As I mentioned, I was 19, he was 20 and in the middle of a divorce from his first wife. I panicked, wasn't ready for that type of emotional involvement, and we both dated other people and sort of avoided this relationship until I was 21. We've been together ever since. I have always been a total workaholic. I have come to recognize over the past few months in therapy that I have a lot of self-esteem and identity issues that I bury in my job and seeking a sense of success. I am a music instructor at a small rural community college, direct operas for a regional company, and work as an artistic administrator for a summer program in NYC. I have always had multiple jobs at one time, and really never had any hobbies or desires for my leisure time except to do more work. I love my work and am incredibly passionate about sharing it with students, performers, and audience members. I suppose it's like a religion, kind of. Several years ago, H told me that he was unhappy in our relationship. That he felt I poured all of my passion and energy into my job and brought him home a zombie at night. He was absolutely right, and I was horrified that he felt so alone in our marriage. I promised that I would find more time for us and would work on being a more present partner in our life. Shortly after we found out I was pregnant. We weren't preventing, but it was a surprise after many years of unprotected bonding. My primary doctor had just told me that I would probably have to seek fertility treatments if we really wanted a child, but apparently that was not the case. The pregnancy and birth of our son really brought us together, gave us something new to focus on and a sense of connection that had been missing. We have come to realize in these past few months since D-Day #1 that it has been years since we had something we really enjoyed together aside from our son, which has maybe been a stopgap. Having a baby has been incredibly wonderful and difficult for me at the same time, because my sense of who I am is almost completely defined by my professional ambitions. Achievements. I have not been able to find a balance between life as a mom and maintaining the overwhelming schedule I built for myself pre-baby and feel like I need to maintain to still be me beyond the baby. H has always been incredibly supportive of me and my career ambitions. He understands the hectic schedule of rehearsals, the travel time, and immersion that I feel when I am mid-show. He knew that I was feeling scared of losing all I'd worked for when I became a mom and made sure to show me that he wanted me to be able to do both. He has handled the primary load of parenting much of the time and has been willing to travel with me so that we could be together as a family. However, that has been unsurprisingly stressful for him. As our son has grown, H has rightfully felt like he has continued to sacrifice things to maintain our family, and I continue to work. Over the last year, I began sensing that dissatisfaction and didn't know how to handle it. I was also facing comments from my mother about how lucky I was to have H, but they always felt like a hidden insult to indicate that I was not a good wife, mother. My sister was going through a divorce, and my mom would call to talk about her issues, and it would always end up with me feeling inadequate. I let these feelings overwhelm me. I started handling it in the worst way possible, projecting my negativity onto my husband and assuming he felt the same way. When he would be frustrated or silent, I filled in the gaps with my own insecurities and identity issues. During a particularly difficult transition after I had returned from an out-of-town show after several weeks, he commented that things were easier without me around for him and our son. I was crushed and just let that single comment eat away at me, using it as verification of all the negativity that I had been projecting. Instead of an isolated expression of frustration, I continued to build walls between us because I didn't know how to face someone that I felt resented me, and I didn't know how to lessen my work commitments to actually help improve the situation at home. I compartmentalized like a world champion and just shoved it all away and continued to live day to day. The OM had entered my life as one of my students 3.5 years ago. Also, from the day I met him, I felt a connection. Not like the I know this is the person I'm supposed to marry, like it was with H, but just an immediate ease and energy awareness, I guess. My best descriptor is that I feel like I am an antenna tuned to his frequency. I didn't think anything of it in particular, I just knew that we got along and I enjoyed working with him. I have always been close to my students. I think it's really difficult to work in an artistic environment and foster that kind of creation without a willingness to be emotionally invested in the other people and vision you share. It has become very clear that I have substantial boundary issues. I went through a period in college where my family did not approve of my artistic pursuits and was terribly alone. I never wanted my students to feel that way, so I have always been available for them. Several have lived in our house over the past years, and I poured my energy into being there for them when needed, instead of in my relationship at home. I have also come to realize that an important emotional factor for me is to feel essential. I want to feel like my work environment, relationships, whatever is different because it's me and not someone else doing that. In previous years, I had felt that with H we were united as we worked through school, found jobs, dealt with his ex-wife, etc. Gradually we began living more and more separately, and as I felt unneeded even as a parent with him, I just shut down. OM and I shared a close friendship. We spoke or corresponded every day, even when school was not in session. I honestly did not realize what was happening, because I routinely corresponded with many of my students on a very regular basis. Things shifted when he was no longer a student, but continued to work as an assistant with me, doing choreography for my groups and acting as a sounding board for my artistic ideas and goals. I had recently lost a colleague that was equally passionate about our creations, and I filled that void with the OM. In April or so, H became concerned about my relationship with OM. I was over my head in what has been the most difficult working situation of my career to date, and desperately trying to create a successful show under near impossible conditions. My engagement at home was at an all-time low, and I had shut down communication between us, mostly unknowingly, because I didn't want to complain about work when I believed that H hated me for being so focused on work. I shared instead with OM my frustrations, fears, sadness, etc. When H first approached me about having an inappropriate relationship with OM, I was shocked and absolutely in disbelief. I know that I harbored no romantic attachment to him and couldn't recognize the emotional affair that had been happening for some time because I simply saw OM as one of my best friends, an ally in my professional endeavors. I assured H that there was absolutely nothing between us, and I believed it to be true. H wanted me to be more present with him, and I wanted to do that. I just needed to get through the show first, etc. etc. There was always something else that had to be finished before I gave my energy to him. It was terrible, and I know I hurt him with my inability to bring my energy back home. Things shifted for OM and I in May before I left for my summer job in NYC. We were working in my office together and spoke of how we'd miss each other over the summer and were looking forward to getting back to work next fall. I stood to hug him goodbye, and when I stepped back, he kissed me. I was surprised. I had honestly not had any romantic thoughts, fantasies of him, and never even considered something like this a possibility. However, in that moment, I felt like I loved him and it was the culmination of a connection I had been missing. I kissed him back. We stopped and said goodbye, and I left for NYC 2 days later, while he stayed in my home as a house sitter. We continued corresponding as normal, not referencing what had happened for several weeks. Eventually, we broached the subject. I told him that H and my son were the most important things to me, and he said he understood that, wanted me to be happy, and just loved me anyway. Is despicable of me, but I craved that feeling. Unqualified love, or whatever. No judgment about my dedication to my jobs, no feelings of inadequacy, no wondering what he was thinking, feeling and projecting my own emotions in its place. We let the EA fully develop with I love you, and our communications increased, even though I was away. Gradually dirty-tinged jokes began to increase, and we developed a cyber affair that really exploded after my husband and son went back home from NYC and I was alone there for 3 weeks. We webcam while drunk twice and sent explicit messages to each other. When I came home from NYC, I was excited to see both my husband and OM. I had invited friends, former students over that night for a welcome home party and took the opportunity when picking up some groceries to stop by OM house and greet him. He was happy to see me and kissed me again. I was happy to see him, and yet felt uneasy at the same time, as I gradually began to realize what had passed between us over the summer, and I didn't know how to get out of that situation. We'd promised, planned, teased about a lot of things that I suddenly didn't think I wanted to go through with, but I also didn't want to hurt him. It was a mixed-up mess for me emotionally. That night, we had the party. I thought things were fine, and then after people had left and I was going to bed with H, he asked to see my FB. I knew he knew. Thus began D-Day number 1. OM's ex-girlfriend had been looking at his account without his knowledge, and passed a note to H, telling him about the online affair. It was an awful feeling. I confessed what had happened, let him read the messages, told him about the kissing, and told him how I felt that I was in love with 2 people. I immediately sent a message to the OM ending it and wanted to try to fix what had happened in my marriage. We went to counseling, both individually and together. I continued to struggle with why I'd done what I did, why I still felt so attached to OM. I knew he was still in the area, and I knew that our affair had ruined any chance of us ever working together again. I maintained NC for approximately 2 months. Things were up and down in what I expect is typical for a recovery attempt. Then one day we saw OM walking on the road to work. It was gut-wrenching for me. All of my confusion boiled up and I felt so terrible for what I'd done to both H and OM. I felt responsible for ruining OM's life, for dooming him to a crappy job and solitary existence until he made enough money to move back towards his family, friends. I knew that he had chosen to stay in our area because of me and our work, pre-affair, and I felt overwhelmingly guilty for the current condition of his life. It ate at me for a while before I just decided to see if he was okay. I drove through where he worked and ordered a soda. He smiled, I smiled, and that was that. NC broken. I compartmentalized, rationalized, lied to myself and everyone around me. On my second trip through, I asked how he was, and he said fine, but bored. I decided I could at least help with the boredom, since I'd been the source of his relative entrapment, and started leaving books on his porch at home for him to read. When he was done, he'd put them back out there a week or so later, and I'd drive by and pick them up. It was stupid and nonsensical, but I felt like he'd know I was sorry for his situation, cared, and wanted his life to be better. I was still struggling in my relationship with H, I'm sure you're thinking, to open back up and find a connection between us that was more than roommates or parenting. I allowed my feelings for OM to fester, to cloud my thinking and perception of what I was working on. After 3 months of roller coaster recovery, I was still feeling lost, lacking a sense of self, and discouraged whether H and I were making any progress. H had made a comment a while back about hoping I would find my epiphany and rediscover what made me happy and made me me again. And I started to wonder if OM was that epiphany, if I had somehow missed a sign from the universe and it was staring me in the face all along. I should insert here that I am an information seeker. It is important for me to have knowledge, to understand, to experience all aspects of an issue. In many ways I am probably borderline obsessive. A decision to get a fish tank becomes a 3-month exploration online and escalates to obtaining a 55-gallon saltwater tank instead of a $10 tank from Walmart. So, I began to obsess over this renewed sense of split in my heart, and how could I ever give my whole self to H again if OM had claimed part of me. I made plans to see a musical out of town with some friends. The day before, I found out that OM was in the area and we could see the show together as a group. I lied and schemed to make that happen. I rationalized that we could hang out as friends, have a sense of normalcy, and I could get a better grip on what was between OM and I. We saw the show, hung out, had some drinks. My friends arranged to sleep in the other room so OM and I could have time to talk. We did, mostly insubstantial things at first, then some roundabout talk regarding our relationship, feelings for each other. We basically decided that we probably would never really see each other again, interact, and I kissed him goodbye. Of course, it escalated, with him saying if this was our last night together, he wanted to be with me, and I said yes. I know it was wrong. I know it was incredibly self-destructive. I know that the whole series of choices I had made since seeing him on the street that day were ruining everything I claimed to be working towards and wanting with my husband. And yet the obsessive part of me, the need to know if OM was really the right person all along, wouldn't let go. We had slept together. It was not what I expected. Bonding with my husband has always been a transformative experience. We both feel almost out of our bodies, connected with one another, completely as one. I think part of me expected that same type of connection with OM, that if he was magically fated for me by the universe this would confirm, and then we could figure out what that meant later. Part of me also wanted that not to happen, to prove that he was not destined for me like that and I could go back to my husband knowing that my heart could be his fully. It is completely selfish, totally cruel and inconsiderate, but I didn't know any other way to ever know that answer. H and I had talked over the previous months about the division in my heart, and I knew I wanted more for him and he wanted more for himself than someone who was always half in love with someone else. We said goodbye the next morning. No fanfare, nothing poignant or a feeling of wanting to hold on. I went home and lived in a numb haze for a few days as I tried to piece together what I felt. How could I have jeopardized my marriage for something that wasn't the fated experience I had built up in my mind? It was a weird sense of relief. The split in my heart seemed to be gone, in crushing depression at the same time because it meant that I was really just a terrible, selfish, blind, heartless person. I poured it out of me to H one night, that I knew I hadn't been doing the right things for our recovery, that I knew I needed to get past my own sense of hurt and confusion and just focus on being what he needed and helping him with his emotions. For the first time in a month, we actually talked. I felt this overwhelming sense of hope and almost peace within myself, I guess. I didn't feel responsible for OM. I didn't feel like I needed to anything or be anyone except try to be really present and whole for my husband. It was weird to feel those emotions that had been tying me up for months suddenly not there. I felt like I could focus on the future for the first time. And then it all fell apart again. D-Day number 2 was this past Saturday. OM's ex found out from our friends that we were together that night. It came back to my husband. I behaved completely desperately again, lying and lying and lying about the pa until there was no space for me to lie again. There is no incentive for him to attempt to rebuild any trust with me. I cannot prove to him the change in my heart, except by trying to be the best person I can be for him and our son as we go forward. The current plan is to file for divorce. I plan to use every day until we sign on that dotted line to be a whole person, to show H my heart and my love, and to attempt to repair the shattered heart I have left him with. I will do anything to help him heal from this. The grief and regret that I have for hurting a man who has been so selfless to me is absolutely overwhelming sometimes, but I am also working to not let those emotions drown me. I want to be the kind of wife he deserves. I want to communicate honestly with him, to stop projecting emotions and accept that honest expression means sharing the good and bad thoughts with each other, not compartmentalizing the bad to protect the other person. I want to be the kind of mother my son deserves. I know that there is nothing in my past track record over the last 6 months to indicate that I can actually do that. The change in me is not visible without time. He certainly has no incentive to give me that time. I don't know what else to do other than pursue the divorce if that is really what he wants, needs, and yet continue to try to be clear that I want to make things work, that I believe we can rebuild from the crushing mess I have made. I know people here will tell me I am a callous bee, that my husband can do so much better than anything I could possibly offer him at this point. I accept that. I know that is true. But I hope with all my heart that we can be one of those couples who emerges from something like this. I will not stand in my husband's way regarding the divorce. I plan to be completely cooperative and still hope that my changes in behavior may have an impact on his final decision regarding that. Yes, I have lied and lied and lied and lied. I know I lied on D-Day 2 because he had expressed after D-Day 1 that the only thing that made it more bearable was that it was not a pa at that point. I also know that makes it 200% more awful that I allowed it to become one. I am continuing I see and hoping that H will at some point join me for MC. It can only help our relationship, whether as co-parents or spouses. The question about the incentive for him to trust me again is a good one. I don't know how to answer that yet. He does have full access to my passwords, communications, etc. I offered to let him drive me to and from rehearsals so he doesn't have a concern about a detour on my end. OM has moved away, and we have been in NC since that last encounter. However, I have not yet sent an explicit letter as recommended. I am more than willing to do that, but do not know where he currently lives, so that would involve some sort of contact with him or a mutual acquaintance to obtain his address. I will absolutely quit my job. It's terrifying, because I don't know what I will do or who that makes me, but I will have to discover that. How can I help him heal or have any hope of a renewed marriage if I am still a mess? This is an honest question. Most of the advice that I read says I have to work on me to figure out what is wrong with me that I engaged in such destructive behavior, despite knowing better. I can and will pour my energy into helping H heal, but if I am still broken, what is there to work towards? I also know that I have been an absolute train wreck for my son. I know that either case, divorce or reconciliation, will create an incredibly difficult atmosphere for him to grow up in for a while. Again, I am really trying to focus on how to really work towards a better future. I want him to know his parents love him, to see love and commitment around him, and to grow up feeling secure in his world. I have done everything possible to eradicate this with my selfishness, but every day is another chance to grow and improve. Divorce, we are pursuing those steps currently, as I mentioned previously. Is it so wrong for me to want to be a better wife in the meantime? Honestly, would my husband heal better, faster if I never made the effort to show him my regret and hope for our relationship? I have only pursued things for me for a really long time. I want H and my son to have the best possible future. Should I really walk away and leave them to it? I am not certain what is more selfish, to hurt someone so badly and then abandon them to the pain you caused, or to try to work through it and heal together. Certainly, I get something out of the second. But it also feels horrific to think about just cutting ties and leaving this carnage in my wake. I do feel like my works defines me. I have always been an achiever, constantly told that I am so smart, have so much talent and potential. I constantly struggle with knowing whether I am living up to that or not. I have no idea how to be a stay-at-home mom without feeling like a failure, that I have given up everything I have worked for. Maybe that is the hard truth of this. If I can't put family first, then I shouldn't have won. But it seems like women are told they can have both in this era. Is it just my own ambition that prevents this from being true for me? H has always known that this is a definite characteristic of my existence. I will try anything, but I am afraid that I would not be able to find me in an existence without my work. I have been 100% honest. The last trickle truth was Sunday morning when I confessed having been the one to renew contact in the book exchange. I have spent so long censoring my statements or simply not communicating because I was afraid of the negativity, projected or not. I cannot do that anymore. If we will survive this, I have to get over my fear and habit of omission to spare feelings. It's incredibly hard, and my instincts all warn against it. I'm not sure how that became the norm for me. We are too close to this D-Day for me to know the answer to that yet. The last time we seriously talked, prior to this, he said he didn't know what he wanted from me, and that he thought he wanted nothing. But then an hour later, we were holding each other and sharing time. So, it's not clear. I think my words were misunderstood. I'm not deciding whether to abandon him to his pain. I was asking the posters if they really thought that was a better path to healing for my husband, if he is on his own. I know that it is about H and that he controls this from here on out. I just don't know how to tell if he really wants me to leave, or is just testing to see if I would jump ship. I want him to know that I will give him whatever he wants, but I want him to know at the same time that I am here for him and not giving up on us. It seems like a contradiction. I don't want to be the person that I have been, but I don't yet know how to discover who I am without work as my primary source of identity. That is something for me to work on, and I know I have been monstrously selfish, but I don't know how to talk about recovery without saying I did this and trying to understand why I am so destructive to our relationship. H has to decide what he wants and needs, and we will pursue his goals of divorce or reconciliation. It's entirely possible that I don't get it, although I'm really trying to. But my identity issues and problems led to this affair, and I want to learn from past mistakes and naivete. How can I communicate that more effectively or in a more supportive manner for my husband? This is a real question, not just musings. I haven't had a chance yet at work to go through the threads that have been recommended to me, so maybe that will give me some ideas. There is absolutely nothing in my current history that shows I will change. Only time can show that. As I mentioned multiple times, I am proceeding with divorce with H. I have every intention of giving him what he needs, wants, and making a custody decision that is right for the both of us. I will never keep his son from him. He is a wonderful parent. Regarding what I'm doing to be accountable to H, he has full access to all my phone, email, online accounts. I am absolutely willing to quit my job, to move to another city, to do whatever he needs. I am not trying to persuade him to keep me. I am discussing events as he wishes to bring it up or ask questions. I think it is okay for me to have hope, but truly do want whatever is best for H to come out of this situation healed and with his self-respect. Honestly, I don't know what I would have done if that transcendent connection had been there with OM when we had slept together. Yes, it would have made things exponentially more confusing, and I should never have opened the door to that opportunity. I did not have a condom with me, but he did. Yes, that is an absolutely abhorrent thing. Yes, I over-romanticize and need to get a grip on that emotional side of me. Yes, I was not thinking of my son or H in the least, and simply trying to find an end to my own confusion. Comment: many of the WW that are truly sorry, like legitimately sorry, have cried, and have no problem saying they are crying. They say poor hubby, they say how much they love them, and they are crying their eyes out. Earlier, you haven't done any of this. Doesn't even sound like you have dropped a tear. I bet your husband has cried more than you have. I don't believe you are sorry for your actions. You're upset because you are going to lose either your wife, motherhood, or your profession. Yet you sound more upset about losing your profession than you do about losing your husband. Says a lot about you. Talk is cheap. Cheaters are known for talking a good game, then doing the opposite. Basically, what you've already done. Based on what you wrote, you're still doing it. Still working in the same job, not looking for a new one, still in touch with the students who enabled your affair, responding to their words of encouragement. What do you think your husband sees when he sees how you are acting now? Nothing any different than when you were cheating on him. You have changed absolutely nothing but supposedly what is inside your head. Your husband is not going to believe you unless you change things he can actually see. Delete your Facebook account, at least. Unfriend all students past and present, leaving only family. At the very least, unfriend all male students past and present. Offer to take a polygraph. Find one and suggest various dates you can go. Block all of those toxic enablers from your phone. Delete their contacts. They are enemies of your marriage and thus enemies to your husband. Start looking for a new job and let your husband see that you've started the job search. Destroy any clothing you wore while you had your one kiss and your one time of bonding. Show your husband you are doing it. OP responds: I haven't written about my tears, my complete inability to eat, vomiting up my own bile, and the myriad of other things I go through as I face what I put H through because I'm trying to not let this be about my pain, guilt, sadness. When I look at him and what he is going through, the grief I feel is indescribable, and I'm sure less than 1% of what he's feeling. I do love him, but nothing I have done shows that. I neglected that love, rejected it in the face of something else, and absolutely buried it behind my love of myself. My current students are not knowledgeable of this in any way, as far as I know. My response is that there is no such thing as too hard on myself, that the mistakes I have made are completely inexcusable on every level, but that I am working to find a sense of peace and hopefully eventually self-forgiveness. I thank them for their caring and know that I don't deserve 1 ounce of it. The relationship with the OM ended by mutual agreement the night we had slept together. I understand the general disbelief regarding the evolution of this situation and get why many people think that couldn't be the case. I don't feel I am trying to manipulate H back into a marriage with me. I came here to post and find feedback on a situation that no one I know in person ever discusses, regardless of whether it happened or not. I am not asking H to give me another chance. But as we continue to interact and co-parent and proceed toward divorce, I am trying to not be the selfish person that I was. I have every intention of fulfilling my obligations to my husband and son in this circumstance, financial and otherwise. H and I have discussed my moving out but haven't settled on any details. I have offered H full custody if he wants it. I am not being combative in any way regarding this dissolution. I certainly understand the importance of child support and have no intention of ever making this situation more difficult to endure than it already is. We are adults who have spent many years building a life together. I have destroyed and disrespected that with my actions. But there is no reason for me to continue that destruction by creating a caustic divorce. Every hour of every day, I cannot for the life of me fathom how or why I couldn't exhibit more discipline, commitment, dedication, basic respect before I had completely laid waste to everything. I will be working on that in my next IC session. There is nothing noble about this awful situation. I did not mean to convey that in any way. H's IC said that love was an emotion and commitment was a choice, and yes, I chose to not honor that commitment. It is not something that I can change. My descriptions of past events are from the perspective that I was thinking, feeling at the time. I am trying to be clear about this experience, before, during and after. There is nothing romantic in my affair. However, I didn't see that while it was happening. I am not justifying, rationalizing, or anything else. I'm simply trying to document. Regarding my breaking down, not sleeping, etc., I'm not sure in what context you all think I should be posting that. You can say what you like about weighing my remorse, etc. But the fact is, if I were posting about how awful I feel, how sick I am, how I haven't eaten anything since Saturday afternoon and have lost 6 pounds in 3 days, you would have no problems telling me it is the least that I deserve and I should be focusing instead on what H is feeling and experiencing. I had every opportunity to prevent this situation. There are countless times over the last 6 months that I could have said no, should have said no. But I didn't. I have to accept that. I am wholly responsible. But whether you or anyone else wants to believe it of cheating spouses, sometimes it is not about deliberately trying to harm the BS. What I did was wrong, destructive, shattered my husband's life and self-respect. But I didn't cheat to be vindictive. I cheated because I was selfish. I valued my own emotions and confusion over his. Period. A small update from the husband's perspective. Last night I found out that she had not stopped contact. She continued to drop off books for him to read at his porch and made sure to go through the drive-thru where he worked to see him from time to time. One of her female students invited my wife to her school's performance of Spring Awakening. Also invited was another male, and unbeknownst to me, the OM they'd all been close friends at our 2-year and had moved on. After the show they had some drinks and went back to her place to sleep over. I was directly lied to about who would be there and who was there that night. The students did nothing to stop them from ending up in the same room alone. If anything, they enabled it. I'm devastated by their lack of concern. Any one of them could say, hey, she's trying to heal an affair, but no one did a thing. So, 4 months into the wife and OM got to have their fun time. It wasn't what she expected and days later realized the fog had lifted and she was able to let him go. She had some sort of addiction to him. She read some things on this forum and seemed to make a new, fuller commitment to us. Last night, thanks to a student tip, I found out they were together. It took a lot of prying and many, many lies. I'm utterly crushed. I know I gave it an honest shot, used all the love languages and corrected many manipulative behaviors, went to therapy, even considered that she might be polyamorous, all for nothing. Don't think your husband is seeing the wonderful action you describe you have been doing since July. Yes, it is all in the person who is perceiving it. Wife responds, I out of town for a few days, posting on my phone. Here's a brief timeline, because something has gotten confused somewhere. July 2009 met OM. January 2011 OM ended his classes. January 2012 IA began. I use this date because that's when I can remember our conversations becoming more personal in nature, families, relationships, etc. May 29, 2012 PA began with kissing. May 31, 2012 I left for NYC. 3rd week of June 2012 cyber affair began. July 17, 2012 return from NYC, D-Day number 1. 3rd week of September, NC broken with drive-thru, book drop-off. November 2, 2012 slept with OM. November 3, 2012 last contact with OM. November 17, 2012 D-Day number 2. My comment, update part 2 ending will come tomorrow. We will get a bit more insight from the husband and see the ending between these two. Hope you guys are learning from this. It was one of the more important marriage lessons we had so far.